Good afternoon. This is Bob from Trade Genius. It's 30th October still, and I wanted to continue to elaborate on my earlier video about, I think the coming Civil War. And now it could be a metaphor. I'm not exactly advocating violence. I'm really talking about an awakening by a people who have finally seen the mask torn off of a group of, I don't even want to call them elites because it gives them too much credit. There's just a group of people who have an idea about how the world should be run, and they pretty much just disregard people's civil liberties in order to bring this world that they desire into fore. And I have my theories. These are typically people who do not believe in God, and so they're trying to create heaven on earth. And I think that is the genesis of the progressive movement. And these people are genetically wired. Excuse me, they're genetically wired to tell you what to do. If you ever noticed when you were a little kid and you wanted to do something, and the answer was, well, mommy knows best. Well, that's how these people advocate. They basically view the rest of the world as children to be told what to do. I mean, there's no other reason for them to bring forth the whole climate change debacle. They correctly understand that they have to create something beyond this world in order to rally people to a cause. And so the only thing they really have left is, unless they claim to be God themselves, is to say, hey, we got to save the world, the climate. An asteroid is coming, the aliens are on their way, whatever it is, to try to rally people to their cause. And they're in the middle of all the mechanisms of power now. And my take on this is really going to talk about the financial markets, because that's where they do a lot of their business to control people. I'm not going to talk about the government side of it. I'll probably do another video on that at some point. But what they're able to do, the Federal Reserve System, when that came into place, basically took control of the economy away from producers and put it in the hands of what they call the renting class. These are people who don't really produce anything, but they control credit. And when you control credit, you can control a lot. It's as though you're at a poker game, and it's unlimited pot, and you have an unlimited amount of money at your disposal. At some point in time, you're going to beat everybody else on the table, because you can just keep doubling down until people are either broke or give up. And that's what they do in the financial markets. A little history is, the movie and the book, The Wizard of Oz. That's not a cute story about witches. That is a story that was satire about how the financiers from New York and Chicago were trying to control the grain markets and the silver markets to basically impoverish the farmers, so that those folks can use access to credit, the futures markets, to profit for themselves. They're not the farmers. They don't produce anything. The consumer had to overpay. Well, that happens here too. And you can see it in two areas right now in the markets. Is the oil market is really highly manipulated market. And eventually price is right. But what they could do is they could swing it so hard around that right price that basically they can profit from your expense. And gold and silver markets are the same. They can just suppress by putting on what they call naked shorts, meaning they're not backed by anything. And if they're wrong, they could double down their bet until they're right. And if they're really wrong, like in 2008, they go ahead and they get the taxpayer to support them. And so what I see happening now is, I think those games are going to be over. I think people are sufficiently aware now and sufficiently disgusted that I think these people can't operate in the open. And so you notice there's been a lawsuit now about suppression of gold, and other countries are now like saying, hey, you know what, you're suppressing my national asset now too. And so I think you're going to see those things ending. And it's the same thing that's going to happen in the oil market too. There was no accident that on Friday when we sniffed this out with Comey that the oil market fell and the gold market rose. And so those are tells for me, something to watch. And my view is that they're not going to be able to control either one of those markets. We have too much oil and we don't have not enough gold. And you know, in a way, they've given us a gift. And so, you know, you need to continue to buy, you know, miners, you know, whenever they sell it off. You need to buy gold and silver for your own internal wealth. And on the oil markets, is that it's hard for you to short it, but there's ways in which you can short the markets with ETFs. We talk about them in our, you know, for our subscribers, and where you can make some money in the markets. And then my next report I'm going to give it an ag update, because things are happening as we anticipate it, and there's going to be some good opportunities for people who are going into next year. So, you know, back to the us and them, and you know, Republican, Democrat, that story's old. So now it's really the people against the powerful, and we have to wrestle control the credit markets away from them. And so these are the areas that are going to battle first, and then the other area you're going to see is going to be interest rates rising. Is that they've been suppressing interest rates for so long. You know, it's great if you have a home, because your home went up in value because they suppressed interest rates. For a vast majority of the American people, I think over 40% now cannot even afford a home. I live in Southern California. I can't even afford the home I live in today. It's gone up so much in value. And you're saying, hey, you know, that's great for you, but you know, at some point it's going to come back down, and it has to, you know, unless we're going to become a third world nation here, that there's going to be a few rich people and everybody's going to live in poverty. I don't think the American people are going to let that happen. You know, and a lot of people think that's where they're going with it. I just don't think they win that battle. You know, I think once they lose the soccer moms, it's over for the Progressive Party. And they're starting to lose them. People can't afford homes here. You know, people are renting. Health insurance is going up 30% in a lot of places. You know, people can't afford it. They're just going to opt out. And then we're going to see then the powerful really have no power. So just keep watching those things. Like I said, you know, gold market, oil market, credit market, all those things are now going to start going back to what the prices they should be. Some of that's going to be really good for us. Some of it's going to be very painful. For me, it's going to be a mixed bag. I expect the assets that I own are going to suffer. And you know, so I'm going to try to mitigate it by getting into things I think they're going to move up. But, you know, I'm willing to pay that price for getting my country back. And I think a lot of other people are too. And so just keep an eye on that. I'll be talking about those things as they unfold. But you know, watch the election here. You know, we have you know, the election, and then we have the Federal Reserve in December, and then we go into the new year. So depending on who eventually does win this election, I don't think it really going to matter. Any pop that's going to happen in the market is going to be short-lived, and either the Fed's going to try to punish Trump, or for Hillary, I think there's going to be a realization that her victory is going to be pyrrhic, and then they're just going to constantly be hounding her with investigations, and you know, even giving a shot at even impeaching her. So I don't think next year is going to be a really great market for people to be in risk, and there's going to be a few places where you're going to make money. I'm going to talk about that next. Anyway, it's Bob from Trade Genius. Hope you're enjoying a great weekend, and I'll be back with you in another video here in a couple hours. Thank you. Bye-bye.